What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another beautiful Sunday night here at AFTERBUZZ. We are breaking down episodes 5 and 6 of Narcos Season 2. So make sure that you come back because we got a lot to discuss and we can't wait to talk about it with you.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh yeah, 7 p.m.-ish on a Sunday night, so you guys know what that means. We are here rocking it out, the Narcos After Show on AFTERBUZZ TV. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We are so excited to talk about Season 2 episodes. Okay, Khaliel is in the groove, so I'm just going to give him a moment. All right, we here?
See.
See way. Welcome back, guys. My name's Ashley. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Ashley_Chatman. I'm so excited to have us back here for another discussion of Narcos. But I'm not alone. I'm here with the mucho suave Khaliel. Khaliel, where can the people find you?
Me llamo Khaliel el Abooboo. El Twitter, el Instagram.
Ooh, okay,
Khaliel
papi.
Abooboo.
All right. So we have got a lot to talk about today.
Let's talk about it.
And while we're talking, fingers crossed to our Narcos crew. The Emmys are going on right now. I think the Narcos crew, they're up for at least one.
They deserve it.
They absolutely do. Done a lot of great work. And I really like seeing Netflix shows getting so much recognition.
For sure.
Because it's just changing the game as far as television is concerned. So fingers crossed for them, and I hope that they win big.
Right
tonight.
before I got here, I watched a little bit of it, and I saw Seinfeld on the red carpet for like the pre-show or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about, I don't know why I'm here. My show's on the internet. It's not on TV. Like, things are really changing. And so because his show's on Crackle, this is Netflix. Like, it's cool. Like, it's definitely, things are changing.
But it's great because I think more and more people are watching online television shows, movies. They're reverting to AFTERBUZZ TV. Yes, thank you guys for joining us, by the way. And if you're in our chat or if you guys are commenting, liking, please keep it coming. We want to hear your feedback and we want to hear what you think of the show. And speaking of, what did you think about episode 5? We're getting into episode 5, which was The Enemies of My Enemy. So
it's
just overall thoughts. Yeah.
Well, we got to see the Suicide Squad in action, so that was pretty good.
Right. The Colombian Suicide Squad.
I was here for that. I am here for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it was a really great episode overall. I thought it started off a little slow, but I think that was just because we were just coming off of the high of the death of Gallo.
I thought the opposite though.
Really?
I thought it was straight gangster. Like, he was in the meeting, and they're like, "So, you gonna join the team? This is my cigar." So,
reenactments, everybody.
You gonna join the team or no?
Well, just the beginning part. I felt like it took a little bit of time. That was a wonderful, beautiful reenactment, everybody. He'll be here all night, guys. Make sure you tip your waitresses. No, but I thought that starting off, just coming off of that high, I don't know, I guess I was expecting there to be like more immediate backlash, but we kind of go just straight into the aftermath, the fallout of Khaliel being killed, and now President Gaviria is running around like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to find a new head of Search Block. And of course, everybody and their mom is like, no, backing out. They're like, I'm good, because it's a very dangerous position to be in.
You just gave me an idea.
Uh-oh.
We should get shirts that say Search Block. How cold would that be, son? Come on.
I don't know about that, because Search Block, I mean, that pretty much puts a target on your head. So I'd be like, I'm with this guy and he's Search Block.
For
Maybe
a second, you thought it was cool, though.
For a second,
you was with it.
All right, you know what? I might put it on the back, just,
Right,
so people can't see it up front. But if I turn, then you get to see it. But no, yeah. So now Gaviria is like, I need a new head of Search Block. People are turning him down left and right. It's making his head spin. And he eventually finds Colonel Martinez. Mm-hmm. He's very well esteemed. He has a great military background. Seems like he is a perfect candidate, or at least a really great candidate following Colonel Carrillo. Mm-hmm. He approaches him. Basically, he gives him the same no answer, I'm good. Mm-hmm. But then Gaviria, he's desperate, so he basically tries to lure him in by saying, hey, by the way, your son, he just graduated from the academy. Oh, and he just happened
Checkmate.
to be in Search Block.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk?
Checkmate.
And so, which I don't know how. I mean, I guess his son could join without telling his dad, but I feel like that's something you would tell your dad, like, up front. Like, Colin Martinez seemed very surprised. Like, I had no idea, you know?
I don't know. I do a lot of things I don't tell my mom.
That's true.
So.
But, I mean, something like this is huge. Because joining Search Block, and, you know, as we see the lovely welcome package that Pablo gives Colin Martinez when he takes the job, it's a dangerous position. I mean, you are literally signing your death warrant because you're going head to head against the most notorious, dangerous person who's in Colombia at that time.
I see, that's what makes the t-shirt so cool, because that was in '92.
We
know what I'm saying?
We got to trademark it first. We got to speak to the managers, you know, get the contracts going, and then we'll discuss. And then we'll set it up on Etsy.
We can make one in Spanish too.
Okay, all right, fine.
Come on, girl. You heard it here first. Exclusive.
Here at AfterBuzz. Always thinking ahead, guys. So, so now we have the new head of Search Block, Colin Martinez. And I think it's really interesting, and just wanted to get your thoughts too, especially now that Pablo is on the run. He's not at a point where he has no resources, but he definitely has way less resources than he did before he went to prison. Less men. Before Colonel Khaliel, you know, got taken out, he did shake up his operation a bit, took out some of his sicarios. So he is now really kind of trying to allocate his resources to the right place and be a little bit more scarce with his resources. So I think it's really interesting that even in that position, he still commands so much fear and violence and attention from people from Search Block, which is supposed to be, you know, the strongest, most, you know, I guess bonded military force that Colombia has at that time. So I guess what's your thoughts on just like how he's able to still do that?
I think like the one thing this show does a really good job of is like making you feel something without necessarily saying it. Regardless if you knew the show was going to be 2 seasons, regardless if you knew the actual history, like you can tell. All right, your clock is ticking, bro. You about to go.
Right.
Any second now is going to happen. Just not sure when, but it's going to happen. And so I think, you know, like you see that watching it, and it's kind of like this unspoken undertone vibe kind of thing. And so they're like, I don't know, we're sick of you, and we're going to do anything we can to get it over with. Yeah,
that's interesting that you talk about the imminent death approaching, because it is, in real life, it was Hugo Martinez, the colonel who was the head of Search Block. He was the one who was at the head at the time that they actually did find and eventually kill Pablo. So now that he's in position here on the show, like we said, we know that the clock is ticking. It's only a matter of time, but it's still really intriguing to watch because
watch it break down.
Right, because we don't know what's, you know, since his son is involved now, there's a lot more at stake. Is it going to be him trying to keep his son alive and then at the same time be the command of this incredible army? So it's like it's a lot to manage and handle all at once, but we are hoping for the best.
And so we also have Leon, coming into the country.
Right. Well, trying to come into the country, because at this point, business is good for Pablo. Khaliel's gone. He's trying to get more and more handle on his businesses. And then we have, Carlos, Tata's brother. He comes to Colombia. Basically, Pablo brings him there to cheer him up. But we find out that he's also helping to run a lot of the drug trade that's in Miami. So he gives a report about Leon and Miami, and he basically wants Pablo wants Leon. He wants him to come, just to, I guess,
trying to make something shake, Well,
I guess also to reinforce the stability. You know what I mean? Like, he's in a very unstable position right now, and I think he just wants to reinforce, like, are my operations okay out there? Are there any issues? Who are our enemies? Like, just trying to ask those questions and figure everything out. But of course, Leon, he gets message to come to Colombia, but when he gets there, he's intercepted by the Rodriguez brothers. So what were you thinking going into those scenes? I was very nervous for Leon. I thought that, because, at this point, we still are not really sure where the Rodriguez brothers are, or at this point, we weren't sure where they were as far as Pablo and, like, trying to really take down his entire operation, because they're still trying to maintain that undercover-ness about them. So I guess because we didn't really find out in this episode, like, what their intentions were. So what were you thinking, like, going into it?
I was actually thinking, like, they're not going to kill him because they don't really have a reason to kill him. That's what I was thinking.
It's Narcos. Do we need a reason?
That's true.
Do we need a reason?
Okay, I can't
Pablo
fight that.
Escobar, man.
That's true. That's true. But I was like, I was thinking like you went out of your way to intercept him from being picked up from the airport.
Yeah.
You don't like you're not gonna kill him. Like so, what? Why are we here? Like that's what I'm thinking, and then we didn't find out in this one.
Yeah, but still very interesting scenes. I also really liked the interactions and conversations between Carlos and Pablo. You know, Carlos sees his sister very clearly in denial, very clearly trying to just keep her sanity in the midst of all of this craziness.
So many women can relate to that.
Yeah. Okay. Preach. And so, you know, he feels for her like a good brother. He is trying to step in. He's trying to look out for his sister and his nieces and nephews and his family ultimately. But there's a little bit of tension there. You know, Carlos proposes like, hey, maybe you should send them away so that you can do what you got to do. And then they won't be in harm's way. And Pablo's like, no, I got this. I'm cool with this. So, I mean,
you want to soak up them last days, player.
Okay, so then since you say that, do you honestly really think that he's in that mindset? Do you think he thinks that okay, this is it, so I just got to soak it in, or do you think he's going to get out of it?
Yeah, he thinks he's going to get out of it for sure.
Or is he forcing himself to think?
I think it's like after you got shook a little bit, but it's like, all right, I took care of that. Just walk it off and I'll be fine. So I think that's what's going through his head right now.
I think he probably bounces in between both. I think that ultimately, as we've seen from season 1 up until now, he is a realist and he knows when he can't like BS himself anymore. And he like, okay, this is the situation that I'm in. And I think he's fighting hard to figure out a way out of it. You know, like especially, you know, in season 1, he was really good with making negotiations and like just trying to talk his way out of every tricky situation. And I think that he's going to try and do the same here. But I think he recognizes that this is a much more serious place for him to be in, and it's more threatening and it's more dangerous than it's ever been. So I think maybe he's forcing himself, but he also has to be a realist, and he also has to figure, you know, you can't have your head in the clouds. You got to look at it in the face, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to approach it, you know, from the best way possible. So
I totally see what you're saying, but he did just handle Khaliel. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Khaliel.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think he might just be like, okay, all right, all right. I just need to walk it off, and
I get that,
get back to
but
business.
I think that was probably more so just because Limon turned out to be more loyal than we all thought. You know what I mean? And I think he took it upon himself to bring that to Pablo, because if he didn't bring that opportunity to Pablo, and that was pretty much really the only situation in which they could have gotten him, I don't think he would have had that opportunity, or maybe he could have, but I don't think it would have come as easy as that. So, you know, I'll give you that on that point.
2 weeks ago, he was shook.
He was shook. You're very true, but I think that he also is just lucky in a lot of ways, and that just flew across his lap, and he just took opportunity. I mean, but he's an opportunist too, so he knows how to see each situation and just jump on it and take advantage of it or disadvantage of it. So yes, so we got some glimpses of Pablo. I mean, I love just seeing, and I think they're doing this more and more in season 2 as just sort of a way to like really make people feel, you know, on the fence about his imminent death. We're seeing so many of these scenes now with his family. Yeah. And him being this really great, loving father, husband, brother-in-law, you know, even in some ways a better boss. I don't know if that's the right, but
he was joking
just,
around with him,
you know, like we're just seeing I don't want to say different side, because we did sort of get glimpses of this in the first season.
But it feels more,
but
sure.
It's way more.
It does.
And I think that they're showing that to us for a reason. They don't want us to be so condemning, like, yes, shoot him, kill him, get him out of here. They want to kind of show us that he's human, and that, you know, even in his monstrosity, even in his violence, his hatred, even in all of the really horrible, ugly things about this man, there's still something there.
Yeah.
And can it be saved? Is it worth saving? You know, when all these other people's lives are at stake, with all of the massive destruction he's caused.
Question.
Message. You know. Message for the day, folks. So we have Pablo, we have Leon, who's kind of hanging off into the distance, and I guess we'll figure out what eventually comes of that. And so then moving on to Javier. So now with Colonel Martinez being the new head of the search block, he's kind of playing things a little old school. And his methods are like a little outdated. Can possibly get the job done, but Javier, just seeing everything and dealing with Pablo Escobar for all this time, he's not feeling it at all. And he gets approached, you know, in the last episode, he gets approached by Judy Moncada and Don Berna.
Yeah.
Basically an extension of the Castaños brothers. They're trying to create this Suicide Squad alliance to take down Pablo Escobar, because they're like, look, Search Block is not doing anything productive. All these people are still dying. He's still at large. Pablo's still at large. So we need to step in and we need to do things our way. So Javier is kind of losing faith in the system, so to speak, and considering, I guess, more and more to take a part in what all of them are doing him. So
loose.
Yeah, exactly. So what were your, I guess, feelings on that, or what were your thoughts on him kind of stepping over to the dark side? I mean,
it was kind of okay. So yeah, when he tailed Limon and we got what's his name? Velasco.
Yeah, which was, I guess, one of the higher up in the chain of Pablo's
big dog
hierarchy.
Big fish.
Exactly.
It was kind of the same thing when Khaliel would be out here shooting kids. It's like, damn, got the job done though. Like,
so you're on the fence of just team, do what you gotta do.
I mean,
it's okay, be real with it.
All I can say is it worked.
So yeah,
it worked. Like, I don't know what else to say at that point. Like, it worked. We got results.
Right.
So.
That's true, but also you gotta also consider, and I think Javier, he even considers it too, like the cost, at what cost though.
Yeah.
You know, because going through that whole, you know, all those scenes where he is, you know, he and his partner Chuilo track down Limon, which leads them to Velasco. He wants to call Search Block, or I think they actually do call Search Block, and they're basically like, we gotta wait. It's all this red tape and all of this paperwork they have to go through before they can do anything. Before they can sneeze, they have to just wait. So he's like, look, we have this opportunity. It's just two of us. We can't go in there alone. So he calls in the Suicide Squad. He calls in the Suicide Squad.
They got it done.
They handle it. So Don Berna captures Velasco. He seems like he's very, very loyal. He reminds me a lot of Gustavo in some ways. Just I think maybe because he's also kind of at a higher head of command within, you know, the chain of Pablo Escobar.
Yeah.
And his loyalty definitely on point, you know, to an extent. They do get a little bit of information out of him during his torture, but nothing substantial, right? He doesn't give up where Pablo is or anything like that. So they do find some information about Pablo's accountants, and they're going to try and pursue that in any way that they can. And then eventually Velasco turns up, which, my God, such an incredible scene. I mean, it's so morbid, but just, I love the introduction of the infamous Los Pepes.
Yeah.
The infamous Los Pepes. So we see Velasco hung by a chain.
Strange fruit.
I mean, like, no mercy whatsoever. He's very clearly beaten. He's very clearly been tortured. Hung kind of like in the middle of a town square where everybody can see, and then he has a sign that says Los Pepes, and then, you know, Steve comes in like, who the hell are Los Pepes? So we find out Los Pepes is basically and I don't want to say terrorist group either, but I mean that's kind of what it feels like. It's like a terrorist, anti-terrorist group that's formed, and Los Pepes actually,
anti-terrorist
yeah, you know, it's like kind of in the middle, but it's terrorist against
it's a
another
suicide squad of terrorist group. I don't know.
But it's like a terrorist group that's not going
after terrorists.
The people.
Yeah.
It's going there. It's a terrorist group going after another terrorist, basically. And so Los Pepes stands for people persecuted by Pablo Escobar. Essentially, is what it translates to roughly in English.
Dang.
So this is kind of like a suicide, Robin Hood, you know, Daredevil mashup, right? It's all these vigilantes coming together to basically, you know, him Pablo up, get him out. And I think that, you know, Javier realizes, like, okay, kind of in deep what and he mentions
guys, what are we doing here?
Right, exactly. And even though they're effective, they get the job done. He was able to capture Velasco. Like they did what they were supposed to do, and they did what they promised. But now he's kind of considering whether or not it was a good idea, as he should. Yeah. You know, because a bunch of vigilantes all searching, you know, for one guy at one cost. You know, he says it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. That's already out of control. So that was really, really interesting. But it's just great, you know, again, to connect it to history, where we're seeing how, you know, the formation of these militant groups and the formation of all of these different all these enemies, essentially, you know, like and tying it back to the enemies of my enemy. They have something in common. They have a common goal that they can all achieve together, but they're not going to go about it in a way that's PC at all. And that could be very dangerous, you know, not only for Search Block, not only for the police, but for the people of Colombia, because they're kind of just, they're stuck in the fire too. So they're amidst all of this violence, and it's just about to get much worse. So that was where we ended with episode 5. And just a couple really quick fun facts about this particular episode with Carlos, Tata's brother-in-law, because I know that Tata's brother, Pablo's brother-in-law. So there was an article that came out with Pablo's real son. I think it's Marquin. That's how you pronounce his name, or his witness protection, changed his name. So he kind of talked about some of the inconsistencies, some of the things that Narcos basically got wrong, and one of them was that his uncle Carlos was actually never a drug dealer. So he was actually never involved, or what he claims is that he was never involved in any of Pablo's drug trade. He was a good, clean, decent, honest man who actually was an architect who built homes and things like that. So just really interesting to kind of get, you know, and hear the differences between what's happening in the show versus what's happening. And do you think, and versus what really happened. And so I guess, like, what are your thoughts on, you know, some of the inconsistencies that people bring up? Do you think it's fair, or do you think that it's just a way for them to kind of heighten the story a little bit?
I don't think it's fair, but I mean, at the same time, it's just kind of one of those things. You're like, oh, well, it's TV. Yeah.
Take it as it is.
Yeah, you just kind of got to be like, well, it was a cool story, bro. Yeah.
But, you know, it's hard to, I mean, I can only imagine what it's like to be in his shoes, you know, watching your entire
put
life.
On a spectacle.
Yeah, exactly. And he was a teenager at the time that his father was killed. So he was very well aware of what was happening. He knew who his father was, probably a lot more than his little sister did at the time. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I'm sure he remembers a lot more clearly. He actually was the one who was on the phone with Pablo when they eventually caught him, because they caught him through basically tracking him through the telephone. So just, I'm sure there's still a lot of anger, there's still a lot of pain, and so to see a show like this where your entire life and your family is like you said, made into a kind of a spectacle for entertainment, mostly entertainment values, it's just it's interesting. But all in all, I think that the show is doing a really great job of just capturing the very humanistic and complexities, a humanistic side of Pablo, and just the complexities of his character and what was going on in Colombia at that time, more so than any other show that I've seen or biopic or documentary that I've seen that's been done on Pablo. So all in all, I think they're doing a pretty good job so far, but we shall see. And then speaking of, let's move on to episode 6, Los Pepes. So we have the birth of Los Pepes, and this is like the Suicide Squad on steroids.
Yeah.
So they are running around basically. Well, first of all, we start the episode with the flashback, which I thought was really great. A great way to start the episode. We have Gustavo racing Pablo Escobar on a racetrack.
Yeah.
They're talking, smack to each other. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win. And he basically
teach him how to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He had to teach him how to lose. Exactly. So, we see this side of Pablo, and he's with his men, and they're just all jokey, laughy, having a really good time. And then flashing forward to present day, where we kind of see his life is in ruins. And I just kind of took that as, looking back when you make a decision, that kind of, you put the nail in the coffin. There's really no turning back from it. And do you ever think that there was a time where Pablo could have been like, okay, you know what?
I'm good.
Life is good.
Yeah.
Let me just draw the line right here and be done. Do you think
when
that
he was in
ever
jail?
had that? Yeah.
That would have been a perfect, all right, I'm done. I'm good. This is a good run.
Yeah.
It's a good run.
And it's so interesting that you bring up the jail part too, because the real Steve Murphy, he commented a lot, because people were saying, people in Colombia, a lot of them considered and still considered him to be a saint, right?
Yeah.
He was somebody who was helping to build communities and houses for the poor. He gave away money. Like, people still regard him as this really prominent saint-like figure. Yeah. And people were like, how could you guys how did you cope with having to go through finding him and basically, all agreeing to kill him? And he was a father, he was a husband, son, all these things. And he was saying, yeah, that's all true, but like you're saying, he had a choice. Yeah. When he was in prison. Okay, first of all,
you had it made in prison. You're living better than I am.
Right?
I'm free.
That's why we need to get on those search block t-shirts. I'm down with the selling them, man. Now that you mentioned it, but first of all, he finagled it so that he was only charged with one crime. Right. Out of all the crimes he could have been charged with, he was only supposed to serve 5 years.
What was it? It was
some really measly
crime.
I
don't
even think it was even related to like specifically drug trafficking. It was like persuasion or coercion or something like that. License. It was something really small. 5 years in prison. Okay, that sounds like a lot to some people, but I mean, honestly, compared to everything that he did, that was nothing.
And compared to the jail, I'm sorry.
Right. No, like, seriously. And then he builds his own prison.
Amazing.
They let you build your own prison.
Come on. I can't even build my own plate. I gotta take whatever I can get.
Right. I'm over here eating, bouncy napkins and sheesh, everything else. So they allow him to build his own prison. He has his own guards. Like, he has it made. Of course, we know it wasn't a prison. It was like a 5-star resort up in there. He had all of that. And so Steve Murphy's point was, he had all of that. He had an opportunity to lay low, stay quiet. He still had his assets. He was a billionaire, multi-billionaire at this point when he went into prison. Had all of his assets. He would be able to retain all of his assets. It wasn't like he was losing everything. Yeah. He just had to be quiet and stop for 5 years.
That's it.
He chose not to do that. And so they were like, so people are, a lot of people, especially people who were in Search Block and the CIA, and a lot of people who were there, they basically were like, he wasn't the family man that I think a lot of people are assuming he was. Because if he really was, he would have thought about his family. Yeah. He would have thought, okay, I want to see my family again. I want to grow old with my family. I want to be with my wife, my kids. So let me just stop this for a second. Let me have a seat.
Have a seat.
Yeah.
Have several.
I'm going to have several seats. Waited out 5 years in my 5-star luxury resort where you have hookers, you got, pool tables, you have
famous soccer players coming through, just kicking it, literally.
Kicking it. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, and it's hard. I wrestle with that too, because at the end of the day, we're all human. We all make mistakes, and there is that side of us that causes. There's that side of us that causes us to be like, grass is greener. I know, right? Well, no, he made no mistakes for sure. Like, looking back on it, I'm sure if he could do it all over again, he would not make those same mistakes.
Yeah, but
yeah,
mistakes.
So, yeah, okay.
I can't. Maybe you can't call them mistakes.
A very wrong choice of words, but
No,
at the
I feel
very
it.
least, he had a choice, and he chose to make the choices that he made, and that eventually led to his outcome. So, I think that's interesting. Just looking back at his life and looking, through season 2 and how he's really trying to get out of it, and it's like, did you really? Yeah, did you really care? He's trying to get out of the situation, for sure.
Okay, yeah,
He's trying to get out from under this fire.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. So he has this flashback with Gustavo, who, R.I.P. And so we see his life is now in ruins, and he's just kind of, I guess, realizing what he had, what he lost, and it's just each day I think he feels more and more of the pressure. And I really love Wagner Moura, who plays Pablo, because the way he just plays it, you can feel just the weight of everything, the thoughts. You can see it in his face. Like I can't imitate his expression, but it's just like
Give it a try.
Just like this.
Go ahead.
Go
for it.
Just like
pretty
every
damn
day,
close.
like if I put a mustache right there, would that be? Would you mistake me for Pablo Escobar? Okay, I'll take it. But you could just see it in his face. You can feel it in his body. Like the tension is clearly there, and it gets heavier and heavier every time we see him. So now we have Javier, who is basically giving intel to. He's taking intel from Search Block, and he's giving it to Don Berna. And then Don Berna's relating it to Los Pepes. So each time the Search Block, and it's kind of like...
Go somewhere. Pepes is there first.
Yeah, it's kind of like Three Stooges, where there's, Search Block is kind of running around, like running into each other, because every time they finally get approval to take action on something, Los Pepes has been gone, been back, left again. So they're really cleaning up ship. They're hitting Pablo Sicarios left and right. So, of course, in the very famous Pablo fashion, he's like, all right, I'm going to strike back. So he has one of their doctors, which, very loose term.
Right.
But they have one of the Dr. Prisco. He basically finds, or they have one of the members of Los Pepes. He's injured. And the doctor tortures him and tries to find out information on who you're working for, who's behind Los Pepes, who the hell are these people, all that. And so they basically find out that the Castaños brothers are behind it. So Pablo's infuriated. He decides to attack one of the daughters of the Rodriguez brothers during her wedding.
Low blow.
So, and I was on pins and needles for this scene, because you knew something was going to happen, and it was just kind of like waiting to figure out what it was. He has a bomb that's planted, and the bomb explodes. Thankfully, his daughter and new husband, her husband were outside during the time of it. So, it did cause a lot of devastation, and it didn't look like anyone who was specifically killed. But
that's still now Pablo's like, your move.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to play? We can play.
Which, I love the scene with Rodriguez, where he is just like, I want to kill anybody who's ever shaking Pablo's hand, kill him. He's just like going down the list. He was like, if a fly ever landed on Pablo, kill that fly too. Like, he is done.
He had that Mekhi Phifer moment from
did.
Paid in Full. He by himself and looked at me funny.
Yeah.
He ever said he trying to shit about me instead, B.
Exactly. Like, he is not playing around. And he's like, F trying to be under the radar, F trying to be incognito. I don't care. I want him to know. I want everybody to know that this is us. So it's like the gloves, socks, pants, shirt, everything is coming off. They are getting down and dirty with it. But at the same time, we also have Javier, who is like trying to give information on the sly without getting caught, because he's in a really bad situation to be in as well. I mean, hello, you're working with fellow drug traffickers, you're working with fellow militant groups, vigilantes. And so Steve, he suspects something. He suspects that Murphy's involved with Los Pepes getting the jump on everything.
And where he messed up was after Velasco, he should have been like, all right, we're done here. That's it. That should have been the.
But do you think he could? I mean, when he made that, I think he kind of cemented himself.
No, I think he saw results, and he was like, "Oh, this is not exactly what I wanted. but okay, maybe I should just go talk to him and be like, hey, chill out, even though they're not gonna listen.
Yeah. But you also have to think about it from this standpoint too. He has already shaken their hands. He's already gotten in bed with him once. So if he refuses now, he could very well refuse. But then there's a lot that could happen on their side. They're not playing by the rule books either. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, we'll either kill you if you don't continue forward, or we'll just rat you out to your people and let them know. So, and maybe that's something that will happen in future episodes. It hasn't happened quite yet. But I mean, when you're working with people who are not reliable to begin with and who are not knowable and playing it by the rule book to begin with, I think that's a part of it. Like he saw results and he wanted to keep that going. But I think another part of it is, okay, I've already jumped in bed with him. You know, we've already done the deed. So I kind of have cemented this relationship between us, and I just have to keep going with it and see how far it goes. And then speaking of that, you know, we see it all come to a head in a very intense scene where basically Carlino Martinez had blocked off a certain part of the street because they found intel on Blackie, his girlfriend, his pregnant girlfriend. So they found out.
Gotta get you every time.
Gotta get you, man, with the pregnant
Can't keep
girlfriend.
it in your pants, man. I get it. No, I totally get it.
So Blackie is trying to basically give money to his girlfriend who's pregnant. And she's like, I don't want anything to do with you guys, you know, basically leave. And they shut down the street where they think Blackie is because he's also a huge player in Pablo's organization.
Huge fish.
So catching him would be a game changer for them. So Los Pepes is on their way, but the search block is kind of already there and has blocked things off. So Javier's like, oh crap, Los Pepes can't go and do their thing while the search block is there. So he stops them from going in, and they ended up turning onto another street. But the street that they turned on was a street where they were basically checking everybody's IDs like a checkpoint, driver's checkpoint. So all that violence almost ensues. Los Pepes draws their guns, search block draws their guns, and Javier is in the middle of it, like barely able to stop this bloodbath from going down. And Steve sees it happen, and he's like,
That's
okay,
it.
dude.
Now
You're
I
clearly
know.
working with Los Pepes. So, like, I guess, what do you think about, like, now with Steve and Javier's relationship? Like,
They're such bros.
You know,
They're
I mean,
such bros.
But I guess, how would you feel? Like, what would you do in that situation? Would you try and call him out on it, or would you just sort of let him do what it do?
I mean, personally, I would totally call him out on it just because that's the kind of person I am. But no, I on outside of that, I do think it's best because it's just. Which we'll probably see in the next one, a little bit of predictions, but we'll get in, like, they'll have that dialogue where, like, all right, you did this, now what can we do about it?
Yeah. So are you, like, riding or dying? Are you saying, let me be in on, because, you know, Steve has been kind of like that. He's like, I want to be in on what you're in on.
And so that's where I see him going with it. Like, let me know so I can act accordingly.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I think especially with Connie being a little MIA, he might be more adept to jumping on that bandwagon. So final, and this was one of my favorite episodes of the season so far. We have 4 more to go, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of other great twists and turns, but I love. So Pablo's mom, the whole episode, which is just so interesting, she is very religious and she's very led by exactly. No, seriously, she's like that grandma who prays for from the head, you know.
Okay. Prays,
and that's a part of, you know, her moral compass, which I don't know why her compass hasn't been working up until this point. But so they're staying in one of their safe houses, and she wants to go to mass. It's the Christmas time, it's holiday time, and that's just a part of what you do. It's a part of the Colombian tradition. She can't go to mass. They can't leave. They can't go anywhere. They've been telling her that for a while, and she's just kind of like, I don't want to hear it. So she sneaks out, and she gets one of Pablo's bodyguards, basically coerces him into taking her to mass. She goes to mass, and one of the members of Los Pepes sees her, recognizes her. Not going to end well. Right. So they come back from mass. Of course, Pablo and Tata are furious, and it turns out that that member from Los Pepes basically alerted other Los Pepes members, and they followed her back to their safe house. So craziness ensues. This was a super intense scene. Bullets are flying. It becomes an all-out war, and it was so scary to watch because you have Tata who's there, you have the kids who are sleeping, and he's like Pablo's trying to shoot and get Tata and the kids out of the house. So basically Tata, the kids, his mom, they all get into a car. Carlos is coming up, gets taken out, which we find out he based off of Pablo's real son, that he was actually captured by members from Los Pepes and tortured to death. So he actually did die, not quite in the way that it happened in the show, but he was still captured and tortured. So Tata loses her brother to this, and in a very dramatic, very violent way, and they escape to another safe house. Which very interesting too. You know, I think we mentioned this a little bit last week about how Pablo's real son was saying it wasn't like this. Like, we were on the run, we were in the slummiest of the slums of Medellín. So they go to another house, which is still, you know, like a huge mansion.
Pretty nice,
it's nice. It hasn't really been lived in, so they gotta, you know, warm it up a little bit. They have canned foods, and he's kind of like, I don't know how the hell you open one of these cans. So you can just see the struggle there, right? And it was such a beautiful scene towards the end where there's this fireplace, and they're trying to find wood for the fire, and there's a case of, almost like a closet case of money that's there, and the Tata's holding, you know, their daughter, and the daughter's like, I'm freezing, essentially. Trying to find wood. He just grabs a whole bunch of money, throws it into the fireplace, lights it up, pulls them close, and just wraps this huge blanket around him. You know, it's like, it was just such a, just like really touching moment, because, you know, it just showed like this is somebody who still really does love his family. Like, whatever they say, you know, they say jump, he's like, how high, baby? How high? Yeah. And he's burning a lot of his money. And so just a great commentary on how, like, he worked so hard to get to this point where he
Selling
had all
drugs
this money.
Hard.
It is hard. Very true. Okay, I'll take the air quotes back.
I've never sold drugs, but I'm just
saying.
I
can imagine.
It looks difficult.
What we can imagine, right?
Yeah.
So he's worked this hard. He's invested years of his life into this. It's been a dangerous job. And now he sees, okay, I put my family in danger. So, like, what's more important? This money, this reputation that I've created for myself, or the people that I love, that I care about, who have been with me since day one?
Should have stopped when you was in prison, bro.
Exactly. So really, really great episode. Just beautiful scenes all the way around. I love the acting.
Kind of sucks that he was like, oh yeah, that didn't happen. Like, well, dang. All right.
Well, I mean, at least there's certain things that didn't happen. Yeah. You know, but I think that overall, we're getting a good sense of what was going on, and what he was dealing with, and what he was struggling with too. Because it's hard to be in this situation where you're trying to get yourself out, but then you also have to be a father. You got to play dad. You got to play husband. You got to keep them chill. You know, Tata's in his ear every 5 minutes. Like, what are we doing? What's happening? You know, so it's a lot of pressure on him at this point, and he has to hold it together. He can't buckle. He can't break, because it all is lying on him. So now I think he might get a little bit more comfortable with the idea of getting them the heck out of Dodge, because it's too dangerous for them at this point. Yeah. And then speaking of that, let's get into some predictions. Yes.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
Yes.
All right.
So since we're kind of going through each after show with 2 different episodes, but do you have any overall predictions for the rest of the series?
Pablo's got 3 episodes to live.
3 episodes?
3.
Okay, we're in episode 6, so by episode 9, you think he's a goner? He's out of there? Any others?
Nope.
You'll be having the Surge Block. I'm predicting you'll have the Surge Block t-shirts at least like in production by that time.
Oh yeah, I emailed my people while we were here.
Oh,
they're
okay.
coming.
They're on the work.
The start of tomorrow.
It's in the works. I know. I'm on the seat of my chair too. My predictions for the rest of the series. Well, I think that definitely Pablo is going to have to retaliate against Los Pepes in whatever way that he can. I think that Steve is probably going to get pulled into the Los Pepes, Suicide Squad, Javier, mix up, mash up. And I think that Javier is going to try and pull out of it, like, we were saying. Yeah. And I think that there's going to be some conflict. I think they're going to be like, nah, we're good. You're in this. And if you're not in it, we're going to either take you out or we're going to expose you. So I think there's going to be some drama there. As far as Pablo is concerned, yeah, I mean, it's just time, man, will tell. I think he's going to try and definitely hit search block and for sure hit Los Pepes hard, give him whatever jabs he can give them before, he takes an even more downward spiral than he already is. And I'm just looking forward to the rest of the season. Only 4 episodes left, guys.
Only 4.
So sad.
Pablo will be dead in 3.
But we've got season 3 and season 4 in the works, so
that's true. So that'll be cool.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap things up, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we are going to piece it on out of here. Khaliel, where can the people find you?
Twitter and Instagram at Khaliel Abooboo.
All right. And you guys can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Ashley_Chatman. Please feel free to like our videos, give us a review on iTunes, share. This is what helps us to provide quality content for you guys, which we love doing every single week. Quality. And we hope you guys have a good night, all right? Good luck to all the Emmy people out there, and we will see you next week for episode 7 and 8. See ya.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.